How's it going, everyone? Thanks for tuning into this episode of Phil Talks Sports. Today's episode is being recorded on February 3rd, 2019, which of course means Super Bowl Sunday. And the one thing about the Super Bowl, aside from all the hype and the enjoyment everyone gets from the game, regardless of who's in it, who wins, or who loses, is that when it's over, there's a general sadness to most football fans because it means we don't get football again until about September. That is about to change. In 2019, we have a unique situation coming here with a startup spring football league, the Alliance of American Football, or AAF, kicks off on February 9th, so about 5 or 6 days from the time this was recorded. And that's generally the topic of this episode. I sit down with a good friend of mine, Jospeh Graves, and we just talk about spring football in general. Will it work? Will the Alliance of American Football in specific work? There is also, in 2020, so a year from now, the XFL is kicking off another spring football league owned by WWE owner Vince McMahon. So really we just talk about the way these leagues are working with the information we have so far. We're still in the dark about a lot of things, but just will spring football work, how it will affect the sport, and if it will at any point impact the NFL to be a farm system for them or even a head-to-head rival of the NFL. So we just kind of break that down. It's a fun conversation, just killing time before the Super Bowl, and I liked how it came out, so I hope you guys enjoy. All right, so my guest today on this episode, he is the founder of Low Park Productions. He is a Gator and Bengals fan. You can also catch him at Jackie Robinson Ballpark alongside me as a cameraman for the Daytona Tortugas. I have Jospeh Darnell Graves. Joe, we've been meaning to do this for a while, and I'm glad we got it in before all the fun happens here this summer.
Yeah. Thanks for having me here in the studio.
Well, it's your studio. We're actually here at your house, so thank you for having me.
No problem. It's been a long time coming, like you said. I'm glad we go ahead and get this one going.
So we're actually doing this on Super Bowl Sunday. It's 1 o'clock, so we got a few hours for the big game.
Right.
That usually means no football till September, right?
Yeah.
It's not the case this year. With this new spring football stuff starting up, we're lucky enough to have a team in one of the leagues. We have 2 teams to talk about here. But the idea of spring football, it's happened in the past. It's been moderate success all the way to a downright failure. Do you think spring football in general can work, just the concept of it?
I believe it can. I do believe that it can. They have had a little bit of groundwork laid before them that shows kind of where not to step and some of the things to not do, which I think will help them out in the long run. It's tough. It'll be interesting to see how they go about things. There's been some, like you said, moderate success with the XFL and some of the USFL.
Yeah, it lasted a couple years, right?
Right. That seems if they can get past the 3 to 4 year window in length.
Which I don't know league really has. So I think that's you said, 3 to 4 years is where you need to be before you really
right.
do
that
anything
way
else.
You can get, the players coming in and, if they can go get some more success and lengthwise like the Canadian Football League, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And they play more, a different time of year. Mm-hmm. But it would be nice to have spring football along with the Canadian Football League, along with the NFL, and it would help us out as far as football fans to be able to have football year round.
Right, because, baseball's great, basketball's great, me personally, soccer's awesome too, but there's nothing like football. So to be able to have it year round in some capacity, I think would be a dream for a lot of fans.
And I like the way that it would be switching up to different, leagues.
Yeah.
Because, baseball, love baseball. We both work in baseball.
Right.
It's a long season.
Yes.
It's drawn out. It gets a little monotonous over the time, so...
Same could be said for the NBA and even hockey, let's say, for the hockey fans out there.
That's true. So it would be nice, you get a little bit of a break. You get, it's a new team, I get I get to break out this different type of gear. I get to change, root for these different players. So, and it would be a little bit of an up and coming, as far as for football players that have the dream of being in the NFL. They didn't make it in the training camp. Bam! They got a shot in the spring football league to kind of keep their skills up and show off their talents for the spring training coming up next year.
Right. So we'll start. Obviously, there's 2 leagues that we're here to talk about. One of them starts next week, so it's perfect timing that we're doing this now.
Right.
It's the Alliance of American Football. Right off the bat, like the name, it's not just insert letter FL. It's not just another football league.
Right.
The name sticks out to me. Makes it a little more interesting. One thing that I love that this league is going to do, they're going to kind of generalize players regionally, which I think is a great call. Where you went to college or where you're from dictates what teams have the rights to you, which I think right off the bat, like, so you're a Gator fan, I'm a Knights fan, we have Seminole and Hurricane fans throughout our lives. We can all come to these games and all cheer for the same, because all of our alumni people are in the same team.
It's kind of funny. We'll actually have to come together as a state, and or as
opposed
region,
to being divided.
It's like, oh, damn UCF or oh, damn FSU. Those fans, we're actually all coming together. It's going to be galvanizing, bringing everything together, which. It was a little bit confusing for me at first figuring out how they were doing it, because they had to draft with a protect or pick type of
for the quarterbacks, yeah.
But I think it's a great concept. I believe I like the way that they're doing it, and it brings everybody together, gives you something to cheer for, even for all the people that you've grown up watching, whether it be high school fans, because everybody pretty much splits up and goes to different colleges,
right.
But. A lot of these people that are on the Knights, that are on the Gators, that are on the Hurricanes, they all, played high school, they played Pop Warner, they played football against each other the whole time around in these local areas. So
exactly.
It brings everybody, it gets everybody knowing the players that they're rooting for.
And I do think, it's interesting that from what I've seen with the cuts and the way things are, because everyone's kind of broken down to their 53-man rosters at this point.
Mm-hmm.
If a guy, let's say, is on our hometown, Florida team, the Orlando Apollos, more on them in a minute. If a guy doesn't make that team, they're then welcome to try out for other teams. An example is Storm Johnson from UCF didn't make the Apollos, but he has been signed with the San Diego team. So once you don't make your hometown team, you still get the option. It'd be a little hard if it's nope, you're only allowed to be here, and you didn't make that, so tough luck.
Yeah, and that's another one of the unique aspects that I thought was put into effect with the alliance, how they had the regions with everything, but you were allowed to move on. I saw here they also timed it out with the National Football League's cuts as far as their basically spring training. I saw them where after first cut down date was one of the league tryouts, as far as they had the first tryout, I think, in Los Angeles, and that was right after one of the cut down dates for the NFL. And then they had another one in Houston, Texas. I think it was August 18th. I see here, and then there was another one in Atlanta. So they coincided all of their tryout dates with the cut down dates as far as the NFL. So
we've actually already seen two instances where guys that are going to play in this Alliance Football League. We're playing in the NFL this year. We had Josh Johnson, who's going to be the quarterback of San Diego, played for the Redskins toward the end of the year.
Right.
And then the Panthers picked up the Apollos quarterback, Justin Gilbert. No, yeah.
No, Justin Gilbert was a cornerback.
Right, so. But I can't think of his first name, but last name Gilbert, played at SMU. He played for the Panthers towards the end of the year. Both guys didn't get signed to future contracts, so they're back on their teams. So real quick, let's just break down all the clubs in this Alliance League. We'll get to that other league that's going to happen soon. So you have the Birmingham Iron, Atlanta Legends, Orlando Apollos, Memphis Express. That's one division.
Yeah, that's what they're calling the Eastern Conference.
And then we have Arizona Hotshots, Salt Lake Stallions, San Antonio Commanders, San Diego Fleet. Right off the bat, who got it right, who got it wrong? Is there any names out there that you don't like?
I guess I get the San Antonio Commanders, but I don't know that I like it so much.
Sure.
It's kind of long and drawn out. I know that they had, some wars down there and stuff like Commanders or whatever, but I wasn't a big fan on that. Birmingham Iron.
I get it. It makes sense at least.
Yeah, that one, I'm okay with it. I think the Orlando Apollos is one of the better ones. It matches with the space station, we got going down here. And
my two favorites are definitely the Orlando Apollos and the San Diego Fleet. Both make perfect sense for the area.
Right.
I don't know a lot about Salt Lake. Maybe the Stallions matter to them.
Yeah.
The one the Atlanta Legends, it's a little too generic. I'm assuming they mean the music industry, because Atlanta's big in hip-hop especially.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only one that I'm a little too generic.
I thought so. And Memphis Express, I don't know. Did
FedEx was founded there.
Okay,
yep.
Okay. So
I had somebody come out to me and then make sure I knew what that one was about. So.
And like you had said with the Atlanta Legends being generic, Salt Lake Stallions is like, okay, Salt Lake starts with S. Stallions, it's like Stallions is kind of a...
It rolls off the tongue at least.
Yeah, but maybe there's something with Stallions or horses there in the area that we don't know about.
Right, yeah.
But
sitting here, in Orlando, we don't necessarily know all these other ones. Like I said, Birmingham Iron, it makes sense at least. I understand, that that's big in that state. So we're also looking, you just look at all these, none of these areas have NFL teams, which is other than Arizona, but Arizona's big enough that I think you could field more than one place.
Right, and that's a state instead of a city.
Sure,
so it would encompass the whole state.
So obviously San Diego losing the Chargers, I'm sure they're going to love to have football back. Yes. Birmingham, Alabama is big in college football. It's about time they had a chance at a pro team, so it makes sense.
That. And that was back to the San Diego. Great marketing move, I believe, by the Alliance by putting that team right there as soon as they got yanked away from the NFL. So there's a lot of hungry NFL fans down there looking for somebody to cheer for.
Utah, it surprised me at first glance, but I think of all the good D1 college football programs in Utah, there is a handful of them, so football's pretty big to them. You think BYU also.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
BYU, Utah State, a lot of NFL caliber guys come out of all those places.
That's for sure.
So, that one, it took me a minute to get, but I understand it. So overall, I think they did a good job planning these cities, and I think another thing that it came down to is you look at the stadiums that are being used, and the attendance, the capacity, I should say, of all these stadiums are kind of up and down. The biggest one being Legion Field in Alabama, it looks like. Correct. The smallest being the Atlanta Legends playing at Georgia State Stadium, which, to me, they just got the Super Bowl's going to be played in it today.
Correct.
I understand them not being there because Atlanta United also plays there, and that could cause some scheduling conflicts.
I agree. I think, because obviously it's an upstart league, so you're not gonna be filling out 75, 80,000 seat stadiums. So I think the 40,000, 50,000 seat stadiums is good. 24, that's gonna feel sold out.
It will.
And so I like that.
I do like the idea of the college stadiums being used because if you can sell those out, it'll be great. If you don't quite sell them out, you can still make it look good.
Plus, I think it's going to get a little bit more of a fan base, college campuses. College kids, they love football games. They love going to it. If it's going to be right there on their campus, if they got a football game to go to on the weekend during springtime, I have a feeling you'll get some extra attendance just because it's on campus.
Definitely, and there is a handful here. You see Liberty Bowl, Memorial Stadium, that's the University of Memphis. You got
Sun Devil Stadium there in Arizona.
Right, and so I also think, as we mentioned, the camaraderie of the local, it's your local guys playing for a pro team.
Right.
That'll bring people together, and it'll almost have that college atmosphere. It'll almost be the same joy as when a player from your school makes it to the NFL, you get to see them play on this next level.
Right. I have the breakdowns, at UCF, they have, where is it, as far as the Apollos, we have 29 players, from the state of Florida. Okay. 7 from the University of Florida, 6 from Florida State, 5 from UCF, 3 from Miami, and some of the smaller schools throughout the state as well. So right there's going to be a lot of teams. Oh, look, remember that guy who was on our team last year playing for our team? Let's go cheer for him. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have some people coming in there, and that's going to help, as far as the marketing aspect of it, bring people in and sell the product.
Yeah, I am excited I don't know for sure if we're making it to game 1. I definitely look out to getting to one of these, and we can break it down even more.
Right.
But it just seems fun. There's a lot of buzz around it. They've done a good job giving information, but not a lot. There's a lot not known about this league and the rules, if any of the rules have really changed. Mm-hmm. I have heard that they may experiment with eliminating kickoffs, because I don't see any kickers on rosters right now.
I did see in the show prep that there is not going to be kicks. They're going to start off from the 25-yard line. Kind of like a touchback would be in the NFL, so that's where they're going to start. And as far as extra points go, every team has to go for 2-point conversion after each touchdown. So they're not going to have extra points, which is kind of boring anymore. Even with the NFL moving the extra point back, it's still
I will say it helps.
It did help, and it's not too much of a gimme anymore. But it's always more fun. You sit up on your seat and you don't get up to get that beer when they're kicking the extra point if they're going for 2.
Sure.
Everyone's like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. They're going to go for 2. That can change things up.
And another thing that with no kicks, the other thing that eliminates is onside kicks.
Correct.
So one rule that they have implemented, I don't know if it's in this article here, but what they're doing is you get a 4th and 28 on your own 25. And if you convert it, you can keep the ball.
Oh,
and if
wow.
you don't, so it's a big risk-reward situation. But that is there.
On your own 25?
Yes.
Okay,
so that is your answer to the onside kick. So
okay.
you really are only going to do it. You can't surprise onside kick.
Right.
You can't run out there and throw a slant. So it really will be for, late in the game, you're down 6, you need to get the ball after you just scored kind of situation. Right. But I like the rule experimentation. I mean, I don't think the thing that this reminds me of is, I don't know how much of this you watched, the Big 3 basketball that Ice Cube started. After week 1, they tweaked rules. And some people scoffed at it, but it's like, hey, you got to get it right. And now they're heading into their 3rd year.
You know what? I mean, which a lot of people, us being here in Daytona, we have a little bit more of the NASCAR influence, but I do like, and talk about the long, boring season, NASCAR.
Sure.
But I love the fact that NASCAR is not afraid to change the rules halfway through the season.
Right.
As far as, they're just like, okay, this isn't working, we're going to switch it up. Boom. So, that sometimes is going to work, especially with new things before you get it figured out. Let's go ahead and keep going with what's working, realize what's not working, switch it, and move on.
So I don't think they'll have any issues a week, 2 weeks in. I don't think they're going to change the rules late in the season, but I think they will give themselves a week or two if they need to tweak some things. I don't think they're all of a sudden going to run kickers on the rosters. I think they're pretty set with that.
Right.
But as far as the rule, don't be shocked, people out there that are giving this a try, that rules might tweak.
And as far as the kickoffs, a lot of those rules were kind of geared toward in the NFL safety-minded situations because back in the original XFL days, they had, which basically instead for the kickoff, they just spiked the ball in the middle and they just came running for the ball almost like a rugby scrum.
Which was the opposite of a safety concern.
Correct. Yeah, so it's like, okay, and then people were getting hurt and then right there running the game at the get-go. So it's amazing how some of the leagues that have come before it, you'll see they try different things, and some of it makes it through.
Right.
Where obviously the XFL, they had the names on the back of the jerseys, which seem to be pretty popular with the He Hate Me is the big one
Rod
there.
Smart, yep.
Yeah. And, something like the technology as well. The XFL had the cable camera that you see all over the NFL and all over the covers now as far as for kickoffs and whatnot. That started off with technology from Vince McMahon in the XFL.
Which, for people in the industry, still refer to it as the XFL camera, which I think is, it's a long-lasting impression. So you mentioned them already, so let's bring it on now. A year from now, because the Alliance Football League kicks off February 9th, so it's a week from the time of recording, probably 6 days from the time anyone hears this. The XFL is giving itself another year to get ready. Now, we don't know that the Alliance may have had just as much preparation, but it's very Vince McMahon-like to come out and give you 2 years of angst to wait for a product that he's doing. So I don't want to say the XFL is going to have more time to prepare. It just appears that way because we've known about it for the same amount of time. So where the XFL is at this point is they've released 8 teams themselves, and it is Dallas, Houston, LA, New York, St. Louis, Seattle, Tampa Bay, and Washington, D.C. None of these teams have colors or logos yet. It's more or less just the teams out there. And to me, you can tell they're wanting to go big. You look at every one of these markets. They're huge media markets. Some of them I scratch my head at. I think you only need one team in Texas. I don't think you need Dallas and Houston.
It's a big state. It is a big state,
sure. But you should have
spread it out.
You could have done San Antonio, a team that doesn't have a pro football team.
That's true.
Houston, I could see it maybe because I believe they're playing in. I think they're going to play in University of Houston Stadium. I believe is what that is.
Right.
But Dallas, I feel like it's hard to compete with anyone that's not the Cowboys in that state.
Yeah.
LA is a real head scratcher because they have more football than they can handle right now.
And they've proven in the past that they don't support football.
This is true.
Every time they've had teams there, it has been taken out. So let's see, if it can support this. And hopefully it can. I would like to see it.
If a certain LA team is holding a Lombardi, and by the end of today, it might fluctuate. It reminds me of like when the U.S. held the World Cup in '92. '94, the MLS was created because of the soccer phrase that it created.
Yeah.
So winning a Super Bowl or getting to a Super Bowl might spark the LA fan base a little bit more.
That's true. It could. I'm not as well versed on the XFL coming up since obviously we got another year to
prepare for that. A lot of that is they have not given a lot either. We're kind of going into this blind.
Just kind of what I think I was noticing back in the Alliance, they have started putting the people in the prominent positions are football people, are NFL people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Bill Polian, big time guy with the Colts, building the Colts and all that stuff. A lot of football players that are in prominent roles. It seems like the XFL, they market. Vince McMahon,
it's a marketing guy.
Vince McMahon, he's going to get people there. He's going to get it sold. Now, whether the league pays off and it just actually the product that they put on the field will sustain, it's hard to see. It didn't last time. It was close. I mean, I went to the Orlando Rage opening day. That was a lot of fun.
Talk about that just for a second. Like, you've been to NFL games, you've been to college games. Was the field different?
It seemed very. It was very exciting. It was. I mean, there was people tailgating. It was the first one. It was a good time. It was a great atmosphere. It was almost like a party type atmosphere. We had there was a lot of people there. It was in the Citrus Bowl. We had a good time. Everybody was yelling and chanting, "Oh, Rage! Oh, Rage!" That was
that was
the
their thing.
Chant. Yeah, "Oh, Rage!" back and forth. And I don't know the numbers. It was quite a few years ago, but it was almost sold out. The Citrus Bowl was at least a good turnout there for the opening game, and I think it was quite almost desolate for the last game. So like, Vince McMahon will get people there. He's going to sell the product. It's going to hype and everything, but hopefully it doesn't tail off like we did the last time.
Right. And one thing, you look at both these leagues with their back-to-back, nobody stepped on each other's toes. Nobody has a team in both leagues, because that would just be a train wreck, I think. Like, you look at, as you said, you went to an Orlando Rage game. Mm-hmm. If this was the only spring league in town, you would assume that Orlando would be back. Orlando has a very good relationship with WWE. They've held WrestleManias there. Yes. They've held Royal Rumbles there. I've been to both. So Orlando and WWE, they're pretty tight. So they obviously had to jump across the state to Tampa Bay for their franchise. And you would assume it's because the Alliance snagged up Orlando first. I couldn't see any other reason why they wouldn't pick Orlando again.
Yeah, I could see that. And that's, I guess that's probably the reason. But I have a feeling a lot of Tampa, Orlando, since obviously we're in the area, the fans are going to, they're going to cross-populate, I guess you could say. There's going to be people that don't mind driving to Orlando to see a game from Tampa and vice versa.
Right.
So, but they do have Orlando. If it wasn't so close to Tampa and Jacksonville, I think could easily support an NFL team. It's just, I think, they want football. The
Pro Bowl's been there the past 3 years.
Right.
Weather permitted, it's been a success.
And we're one of the only cities that have multiple bowl games for college football. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we have a lot of people that are hungry for professional sports here in the area. It'd be nice maybe we get a baseball team or something like that. The soccer team, I think they're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
They're staying around. It'd be nice to get them going a little bit better team-wise, but I think the fan turnout, on the field, I think fan turnout's been awesome.
Yeah.
For
the new stadiums, they're very much in the community. I don't think that's changing.
Yeah.
So you also look at, I feel like this was a missed opportunity to put a team in New Jersey, because they're going to be playing at MetLife, which we all know is in New Jersey. It's a joke, as an Eagles fan, you always got to chirp to a Giants fan. You don't even play in New York, you play in New Jersey. Name this team New Jersey. Let New Jersey have something to call their own.
I agree wholeheartedly. Why not call it the New Jersey team or whatever? I don't know. Have the
no mascots, no nothing yet. So
I believe that they should have went ahead and done that. But maybe if the Alliance League wasn't so southern,
very southern influence. It's very easy to tell.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of northern teams there. Maybe if they weren't so much, they would have went ahead and done it. But I don't know that Vince McMahon and his style, he's going big.
Vince McMahon is very New York. I mean, WWE started out of New York. They're things are in
if
Connecticut.
You look, Dallas, Houston, LA, New York, St. Louis, they're big cities.
They went for NFL cities.
Yeah, basically big NFL cities. So that's his style: big markets, big people, big cities. Whereas the Alliance, Birmingham, that's like you mentioned earlier, was these people want city. They want football, like you said, with the University of Alabama. They got
Auburn and everybody else.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be good. Different styles. It'll be intriguing to see which one works, which one plays out a little bit better. I don't know how many NFL type people Vince is bringing on board for the new XFL, but it'd be interesting to see which one has legs.
And one thing that stands out to me, as we said, we applauded Alliance for having San Diego after their team is missing. We can do the same here because St. Louis will be a part of the XFL, and that is one, to me, is a no-brainer. The people of St. Louis deserve a team. The stadium's there, the facility's there. Just because Jeff Fisher was terrible there for 6 years doesn't mean they shouldn't have football.
That's true. That's true. And I have family in St. Louis, and they would love it. As I was saying earlier, they're supporting the big game later on today as far as the cheaters versus the leavers.
So who are they going for then?
I don't know. I don't really know which one they would prefer. I think they probably have to be rooting for the Patriots because they're kind of mad at the Rams. But
so do they knock you just to trail off a little bit? Are they a family without a team right now? Do they can still consider themselves Rams fans?
I don't know that they have a team. Maybe they jump across to Kansas City because Kansas City, Missouri. But they are big with their Cardinals and their Blues. So they're big hockey people up there as well.
But it's the one sport I haven't been to. I still need to change that.
Right,
I need to get to a hockey game.
I know, even if it's just a Solar Bears.
I'd love to go to a Solar Bears game.
That'd be fun.
So it's funny though because about 2 episodes ago I did one with my friend Nick Rice who lives out in San Diego, and there was a lot of talk. He's a Charger fan, so there was talk about are you still a fan? And he is, but it's just a different connection. It's one thing to be your team to be an hour from you to being in another part of the state.
Right? Yes.
So the other thing to bring up here is we have had spring football for some time. It's a league that some people either love or don't talk about at all. Arena football has been floundering for many years. The Arena Football League, the most known one, of course, was down to 4 teams last year. Mm-hmm. Every team made the playoffs, and the team that won the Arena Bowl was 2-9 in the regular season. Do you think these 2 leagues are the final nail in the coffin for Arena football? Do you think or do you think they find a way to get their niche out of this?
I don't know. I just don't. I've never been to an arena football game. Mm-hmm. I like it. I really do. I like the concept. I've seen them on TV. Mm-hmm. It looks like a lot of fun.
I've been to 2 or 3. One I went to Amway, where the Magic play. They hosted the Arena Bowl, and we went to that. So the Super Bowl essentially of Arena, and it was a lot of fun.
The Predators were really good. Yeah. Obviously, myself being a Bengals fan. The Predators, they had Jay Gruden. Yep. He was their little connection with there. Went to up to Cincinnati. I feel as though that arena football has had its chance and it hasn't worked.
Right.
I don't know why it hasn't worked. It does look like it's a lot of fun, but for some reason people just don't go. Right. They just don't support it.
Mm-hmm. I feel like there was a time that it did, like you said. There was when Jay Gruden was there as a player or a coach. That place was pretty packed.
The Tampa Bay Storm, Orlando Predators, War on I-4. It was there was big marketing as far as the local area. I thought. In your Philadelphia, you had...
back then it was the only way I could watch a Philadelphia team win a championship. So, Ron Jaworski owns them. Uh-huh. So, that was good times. Funny thing about the Predators, there's another league. It's like the National Arena League. I think it's NAL, and the Predators are actually coming back this year, and they're going to be in that league.
I heard that they were coming back.
Which is where the Jacksonville Sharks have been playing, too. So maybe... the AFL itself dies, and this other league finds a way to keep things going.
Yeah, that'll work because things migrate and change around, just like the Orlando Predators and the Tampa Bay Storm. That rivalry kind of gave way to the Predators and like the Jacksonville Sharks. Yep. It seemed to be a little bit more prevalent at the end.
Right.
But hopefully it can find a spot because I do like it, and I love for these guys to be able to have places to play and to be able to get out and do some football, but it does seem that a lot of the talent that would be at the level of the Arena League is going to be probably rather play. I would think you would rather play in a more traditional football league like the spring football leagues, like the Alliance, like the XFL, as opposed to the Arena League.
Yeah, I would think that if you have a choice, let's say you're out there, you got an offer on the table from both.
Right.
I'd be hard pressed to say you don't want to play in the football that you've known.
Right, yeah, because you're going to showcase your talents a little bit more toward gearing, because obviously they still want to play in the NFL. It's going to be the ultimate, the holy grail type of spot for every football player. So, I mean, it's going to showcase your talents a little bit more with a little more similar rules and similar play.
So, at what point would you say, obviously, XFL gets rolling next year, Alliance starts in a week, Arena football, I think, is around the corner, too. I forget exactly when their season starts. At what point is it a bidding war for these, people, there's people that only watch the NFL. If it's not the NFL, it's not for them, which is fine. But I think, the same people that won't watch minor league baseball or won't watch, youth level, soccer, if it's not the top, they don't care. Right. So you could call it, these B-level talents, I guess. At what point is there a bidding war between all these leagues for this? Because the only way any of these leagues survive, the XFL was a great idea. Ultimately, what failed it was the football wasn't great. Right. So, the Alliance, they had one scrimmage game for each team in secret. It wasn't broadcast or anything. There's been a few notes out. And I think the only reason they did that is they want to make sure the quality of the game is good before they let public eyes onto it. Right. So, when your talent pool is such, and then there's 3 people pulling from that pool, did they dilute their own talent? Does this become too many cooks in the kitchen? Is that a possibility that could happen?
I believe that it possibly could, as far as you got to figure that the skill level is going to be a little bit lower because obviously the top echelon talent is going to be in the NFL. So you figure the skill level is a little bit lower, then you need to be able to have different things that are going to draw people in and get the best that's out there, that's still out there. I think some of it, like, I don't know too much about the XFL, but the Alliance, they've done a lot of things, whereas the NFL has gone more toward an offensive league. They're protecting the quarterbacks. They're wanting to put up points. They're wanting to do that. Well, as far as the coaches that they've put in, Michael Vick is the offensive coordinator in Atlanta.
I think the Alliance is very well staffed. Right. Even from the front office of Troy Polamalu and Hines Ward and guys like that, they're very well staffed. There's no doubt about it.
Spurrier, he's going to put up from Bandit ball back in the Tampa Bay Bandits, fun and gun from his days at Florida, and actually his days at South Carolina, he had some good offenses as well. Yeah. Actually,
and defense. I mean, Javion Clowney and stuff. He had good defensive players there as well. So.
He did. He never quite had the elite quarterback. I think he probably could have put up some better numbers if he would have got an elite quarterback at South Carolina.
What I call it, other than this year, because they finally figured this out, but for the longest time I called it LSU syndrome, when you get everything right but the quarterback. Right. Like in past year, LSU got the transfer, their quarterback, and they had this year, Barrow, I think was his last name, but he was a
Burrows, Taj Burrows or something like that.
So they finally got someone that was in past years. You have guys like. You have this elite defense. You have a Leonard Fournette at running back. You got Odell Beckham and Sterling Shepard at wide receiver, and you don't even remember the name of the quarterback. So it's like one of those situations where you get everything right but the quarterback, and you see LSU finally rectify that this year, and what a good year you can have. So I think that definitely hurt him at South Carolina. I think Connor Shaw was maybe the best quarterback he had at South Carolina.
He was good. He was solid.
Yeah, he was a tough guy. Tough kid.
And just for the record, UF is the real DBU. Yeah. I don't really care what LSU fans have to say about that. But, no, I believe it will, like you said, it might water down the talent, but that's why I believe it's a good idea for the XFL to wait a year, see what the Alliance puts out there, because they're going to have to put out there a pretty good show, because I think the Alliance getting a year's head start, having all the football people on board, right? And it's going to be harder. It seems like they're going to have first choice, right? Because they started first.
That's what I was.
And they have all the people.
That's what I was thinking. Is the wait and see approach is good in that instance, but it's also it can put you behind the 8 ball. Yeah. So that can happen. And to put a positive spin on this, however long ago it was. When was the merger? 1968, I think. Yes. Mid-60s, we'll call it. So there was a point where there was 2 pro football leagues, and maybe we can fast forward this 5 to 8 years where the Alliance is a division, it's a conference, and the XFL is a conference, and it's a spring, just put a positive spin on it too.
That could be. It does have a feeling as though, like you were kind of alluding to earlier, where it looks like the XFL is going to start off being the little baby brother. Because they.
For those who know Vince McMahon, he does not play second fiddle to anybody.
No,
so that could be an issue.
So maybe he comes out there, gunning with some things. It would be nice to have a competitive, side where you could merge and have the spring football league and get it to be, if it could grow up like the Grey Cup, the Canadian Football League, all that stuff, that would be awesome. It'd be great for us fans down here because. Even the Canadian football leagues lasted. The CFL's lasted for quite some time.
It's just people don't give it credit because they kind of scoff at it because they don't watch it. It's been around almost as long as the NFL. The Grey Cup is older than the Super Bowl. Any Canadian listening is probably shouting that into their computer right now. But the people that I know that watch it, that is their number one argument. Right. Is the Grey Cup's older than the Super Bowl. It's over 100 years old and whatnot. And, obviously we're only about halfway there with Super Bowls.
Right.
But, yeah, the Canadian football, I think they can look at that league and they know what works for them. It helps that they're in another country because there's no NFL team in Canada yet. You never know.
The American fan base is a little finicky and they have short attention span.
Yeah, we suck.
The short attention span also is, that's one of the things that the Alliance League is starting to do is they're, no TV timeouts. They're trying to shorten the game and get the play moving faster on the field. And so, that goes well with knowing your fan base, knowing we have a short attention span. So, there's going to be tweaks like that.
I think everyone can go with the shorter games. Like, for me, when Orlando City was really getting going, anytime I went to a game, I kept trying to bring at least one person that had never been. And the one thing that I always say, we'd get done, you go to an NFL game at, 4 o'clock, you don't leave till, 10. Soccer is 2 hours flat. Right. And I think as long as you enjoy the game, you love the fact that, you can get in there, you enjoy the whole thing, and you're out, and it's not even that long of a time. But you look at both these leagues, I think that is one thing I think the Alliance Football League, their ultimate goal, if I had to guess, can't put words in the mouth of the front office, I think their ultimate goal would be NFL's developmental system. That would be their goal, is, you can have teams that have affiliations similar to baseball where their practice squad guys could play in the Alliance. I think that would be their goal.
Right.
I don't know. Knowing Vince McMahon as a wrestling fan and his goal would be that this is the league. I don't know that he'd ever, and out of those two, obviously the Alliance is a much more obtainable goal out of those two.
I agree. And as far as, the developmental league, baseball is a prime example. Right. I mean, there's a lot of talent, and if they can sell it right, as both you and I work for a minor league baseball team, it's one of the best fan experiences going out there, minor league baseball games.
Oh, absolutely,
I mean, a good time had by family fun at the park and everything like that. It's just a lot of fun. Whereas back to when I mentioned going to the Orlando Rage game, it was a lot of fun. Really wasn't too family friendly.
Sure.
So they're going to have to try and decide which way they want to go with that.
I think with the Alliance being
got a little bit out of control on the little Rage games.
Yeah.
So we had a good time.
I mean, they're called Rage for a reason. I don't know what people thought they were getting into.
Actually, one of our party ended up in jail that night, but it was the little jail underneath the stadium, and he got let out after the game. So
he who will remain nameless. Right?
Yes, exactly.
But
it was not me.
Yeah, I think the Alliance, being that they're in college stadiums, if either of these leagues are going to be the family friendly, I think Alliance is obviously going to be that.
Right.
And it helps that they don't really step on each other's toes in the instance of they're in different cities. At best, they're across the state in the Orlando Tampa situation.
Right.
But I do think. Do you think it's possible that both these leagues survive? Is it one of these, only one of these is going to work out? Because I think at quick glance, one of them's got to be better, and eventually that's going to happen.
As a fan, I would love to say that would be great if they could both survive and get to the level to where they combine and have a quality
spring league,
quality spring football league that is a proven training ground for the NFL and getting people ready for for training camp and all of those things. But the past has proven that that's just not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully it does, but we'll see. It would be nice to be able to get them almost combined together.
Right.
So, and have all of this as one section, like the Eastern or the Southern Conference, because a lot of the Alliance leagues are in the South.
Yeah, you could almost call it the Southern and the Northern Conference in this case. The other thing to mention, you mentioned about if it is a developmental league. Like, you look at baseball, nobody watches the MLB draft. Why? Because even if you had the number 1 overall pick, you're not going to see that guy for 4 years.
Correct.
So the only negative to that is, the NFL loves their draft. They've made it a bigger deal than it's ever been.
Correct.
So you would never want, other than, the first 2 rounds, you never would want guys oh, we drafted this guy, but he'll be playing in the Alliance for 3 years before I see him on my NFL roster. So they probably don't want to dilute their draft in that instance, but I think it could be I think if they wanted people to, go to Canada but still have the rights, they would have done that by now.
Right.
But, there's a lot of people that are respected in the world of football in this Alliance front office. So I think it does make it more likely to happen than it ever did, but they also don't want to dilute. The bottom end of an NFL roster probably could match up with any Canadian football. That's what we've been led to believe. We'll never know because they'll never play those games, but they don't want to dilute their depth just to support another league.
I agree with that, and I believe that the time frame, the sport itself is taken away from being this football is such a physical sport. Some would even say brutal. I know they're trying to take a little bit of that out of it by making it to where you can't touch this person, you can't tackle this hard and all that kind of stuff. But baseball, your career is a lot longer. You have a lot longer shelf life. Mm-hmm. So you can afford to actually go down and play in a lower league and before you get going up and start getting a little bit better and still have a long enough career to go through. But, most NFL careers are 5 years at best.
Yeah.
So if you spend 3 of those in a lower league, that's going to be cutting your career short when you actually get to the real payday.
And you could even take it in the sense of, let's say you're a quarterback, because it's the best example, you play in the Arena League, in the Alliance League, you win MVP, you win whatever they're calling their championship game, an NFL team sees you and signs you. Sounds like a great story. But now you have to go play another season back-to-back. Nobody does that.
That's true. Because at least baseball's minor league is going on at the same time.
It's concurrent with it, yeah.
It is. And but it would also need, if you were to do that, it would almost, to have it similar to the farm system, you would need more teams for the line because each 32 team, all 32 teams would need a team that they could call as their farm system.
Right.
So, and it would that would be the only way, I guess, to tie it into the football draft.
I do know with hockey situation, my limited knowledge of hockey, there's not a 1-to-1 ratio for minor league teams there is in baseball. Mm-hmm. So it's not unheard of that one team will have an affiliation with more or the NBA D League. Okay. Those teams it's possible for them to have an affiliation with 2 to 3 clubs. Okay. So they don't have to 1-to-1 it out.
That would be, and that would be probably help things out like that. Because I like the idea of having a little bit of a farm system feel to it. Because, that way I think it might give people a little bit more of a kindred, with their teams. They could go ahead, oh yeah, that's my team's farm system. Whereas me, it worked out great being Daytona Tortugas, and I've always been a Cincinnati Reds fan.
Yeah,
so
that was great, yeah.
It worked out great for me, but so now I have an affiliation with that team already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so and it works out, like you said, when it's in 2 different areas. Mm-hmm. When you have too many, if the farm system was in if the Tampa Bay Bucks farm system was the Orlando Apollos, you don't get that magic because you're too close to the main thing.
Right.
Whereas, if the minor, if the Tampa Yankees, for example, we're going to keep bringing up baseball, but it's a perfect example. We meet Yankee fans that live in Florida, so the fact that they have their own little chunk of that here makes it that much better.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people, you know, there's a lot of Yankee fans around here, and you know they come down here just to go to the Yankee games.
Right.
So it would be nice, but yeah, you can't have it all there because you got to spread it out a little bit. Get the fan base spread out into different areas, and hopefully enlarge the fan base.
So, I mean, I feel like we've discussed as much as we can without seeing a snap of football. You know, there's only so much that can be said before games get played. So, of course, this coming weekend, you know, there'll be a lot more to say about these games, and I'm sure we'll have another one of these, maybe add a few more people just to see how the league's going in a week or two.
Yeah,
so let's
hear some of the people yell about what we did wrong on this one. So
yeah, so
say, hey, come on board, let's talk with you about different
things. Exactly, and maybe we have a very Apollo-based opinion of everything. So if there's someone out there that, you know, goes to a different game or something from that league, maybe we can get them on as well.
I have some friends and family in Atlanta. Maybe, you know,
they hit up a Legends game.
Yeah, we're playing them first off, right?
Yep, exactly.
That's our opening game, so it'd be nice to have a rivalry built in right off the bat.
Yep. Which Atlanta when Florida in general, in Atlanta, it's pretty built in.
Soccer,
you know. College football has a degree of that too.
Yeah, the world's largest cocktail party.
There you go.
We're not allowed to call it that anymore, but hey, it's still what it is.
Yep. So people out there might be wondering, because you mentioned that, you know, you're a Florida boy, born and raised in Florida. How did the Cincinnati affiliation with your fan base? Because people ask me, being from Florida, how did you get into Philadelphia? And that's the story I've told before. Right. How did it work for you, being Cincinnati of all places?
Well, the funny thing, ironically enough, is I am a big Bengals fan, big Cincinnati Reds fan. I've never stepped foot in Ohio.
Okay.
When I was growing up, I played a lot of baseball. That was my sport. I played Little League all the time. Was a huge, big red machine, Cincinnati Reds.
Sure.
I was a huge fan. So that was my team. They were winning back then. Johnny Bench, you know, Dave Concepcion, Joe Morgan, Ken Griffey Sr., and Johnny Bench was my all-time favorite. And then I loved Junior. Ken Griffey Jr. is probably one of my favorite all-time players as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I just loved that team so much that I was watching them all the time. And as I got a little bit older, I started watching football. And then I kind of switched over and started watching the Bengals. Chris Collinsworth, Gator, went to the Bengals. So local area guy, Chris Collinsworth from down in Titusville, Astronaut High School. So you follow some of your local people there. But it basically all started with the Cincinnati Reds, and I was a big fan of baseball.
And it also helps with, you know, as far as football goes, you know, there's no Jags, there's no the Bucks are in their infancy.
Well,
right?
And when I started watching, there was no Jags. It was only Miami.
Right, exactly.
And my wife's a Dolphin fan, so I follow the Dolphins as well. I like the Dolphins.
But your selection of Florida football teams was a lot less.
Right, yeah, so there really wasn't. And Miami is not really all that close to Orlando, or Daytona area. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, now that we're getting a little bit older, so it's the states kind of got smaller. Miami's not that far away, but when you're growing up,
you don't think about it.
When you're just riding your bike around places, I was like, oh, I can't get to Miami, so it doesn't matter where I'm watching it.
Yeah, they call it the state of Miami for a reason. Sometimes, if you're not from there, you don't feel connected to it.
It's definitely its own entity down there.
Yes, it is.
That's for sure.
Like that whole thing where they wanted to make Florida and South Florida two different states. Dumb move, but I get it. I get why that was discussed.
With like Key West, you know, they want to succeed from the Union to conquer Republic.
Right. Good luck with that.
Yeah. You might want some money, you know. Your roads start messing up, but.
So you mentioned Collinsworth. You know, he's a guy that you hold in high regard. As a player,
right? As
an announcer, where do you stand? There's a lot of people that are kind of not enjoying his style of broadcasting.
He's okay. I'm not in love with them. I have a little bit more a higher tolerance for him than most would because he does say some off the wall kind of things every once in a while. Mm-hmm. He's almost grown on me like a wine, kind of like a fine wine. I've learned to accept him a little bit, but you know, he's not that bad. His son is actually doing a little bit better on some of the morning shows that I've seen him hosting. Some of the things. So
did he play as well, or is he just straight to broadcast?
Yeah, I think he was mostly broadcast.
Okay.
But, I'm okay with him. I like him better than Boomer.
Okay.
Boomer.
That's a hot take. I feel like a lot of people like Boomer.
I'm not a big fan of Boomer. Collinsworth still lives in the Cincinnati area.
Yeah.
He still shows love for the Bengals.
That's true.
He does not have a problem talking and supporting the Bengals, whereas it seems as though Boomer is just anti-Bengals almost. It's like
Like my version of that would be like growing up. It was the life of two Bryans. It was Brian Westbrook and Brian Dawkins, and of course Brian Dawkins is still very much involved with the with the team, and he was an office member when we won the Super Bowl, so we got a ring, which is awesome.
Right.
And it was like for a while there, Westbrook was very standoffish to the like. He never said anything like negative towards the team, but he was definitely not. He's starting to come around now, but it is one of those situations where if you're gonna go in one direction, it's definitely the guy that still shows love for the team after he's gone.
It's kind of a similar thing with Palmer. It's tough, man. To have Palmer say such bad things about the Bengals, and I get it. There's been a lot of. It's well noted. It's a tough owner to play for. Yeah. It's small market. He doesn't do things the right way. But we gave the guy $100 million. Chill out a little bit. Yeah,
I don't know if you watched his the Palmer. It's a Football Life.
I did, and I feel bad.
He goes back and forth. Like he'll say the nicest thing about the team, and then he turns around and has to say the harshest thing.
I get both sides.
Sure.
The fans were throwing trash in his yard and all that kind of stuff. That ain't cool. No. I get it, but it's hard to sit here and hear him say such bad things about it when he's not feeling it. Because I got me I had a little Palmer jersey for my daughter when she growing up, a little tiny one. I got a Pro Bowl Palmer jersey. I got all kinds of stuff.
And I found you the regular one, too.
Yeah, you got me that one. And, I love that Pro Bowl jersey when he was actually the, I don't know why the Pro Bowl didn't do the most valuable player. They do the most outstanding player or something like that.
Yeah.
They change it.
I guess it's hard to pick valuable in a league all-stars, so maybe it's just the name change.
Yeah, so he was most outstanding player that year. He had his name up on the Honolulu Stadium Ring of Honor over there, and it has this cool jersey with the stars on it, but sometimes I almost feel like I can't wear it anymore if he's going to be I
don't know, I feel like sometimes you're like, if you went to a game, if you walk in Cincinnati, you go to their stadium, there's got to be nines everywhere.
Oh,
still.
Yeah, I still see them over there.
Yeah.
But it is tough when they move on. I know everybody plays for different teams and stuff like that. Whereas, but Husmanzada's still loved up in Cincinnati. He played for the Ravens. And just like James Harrison, a lot of people don't even remember that he played for the Bengals for a year.
Yeah. And he played for the Patriots last year, towards the end there.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned favorite Red all time is Johnny Bench, right?
Johnny Bench and Junior are my two.
So where's that with Bengals? Favorite Bengal all time?
The favorite Bengal of all time has got to be, which he kind of like, up and down just like Palmer was, but I love me some Chad, man.
Yeah.
Chad was fun. I don't like Ocho Cinco near as much as I like Chad Johnson.
Right.
But I love Chad Johnson. He was just so fun.
Right.
The cornerback list in the locker room is just fun. It was just fun to watch. He may have had 2 catches for 12 yards against that cornerback, but he's going to check him off his list anyways.
Yep.
And he's going to find out some way. He'll tell you how he looked better on the field than the other guy did, so that's why he won. It doesn't matter. He's just having fun with it. So a lot of people seem to be a little bit polarized with Chad.
He's very few people have a neutral opinion. They either like, I'm one of those guys that likes him as well. But yeah, you either like him or don't. Not a lot of people are like, oh, it's Chad, it's whatever.
That now, and I also have a little-known player, almost like your long snapper
John
guy.
Dormouse.
Yes, I know you got that. The little-known favorite player.
Sure, we all have those.
Love me some Keywan Ratliff.
Yeah, okay.
My first Bengal jersey I ever bought. One of the best Gator punt returners I've ever seen.
I was going to say, he was from
University of Florida, part of DBU.
Yep.
The DBU. My friends gave me a little bit of a hard time when they're like, You bought a non-starter jersey, Keywan Ratliff. He's the nickelback. He doesn't even start.
Yep.
That's my boy.
Right. No, you should see when I buy a long snapper's jersey. To me, that's how you knew.
You're a fan.
Yeah, exactly. Because
for those of you who don't know, follow @Coach Rat on Twitter. It's good. It's good stuff. It keeps you up. He does a lot of local talent as far as high school players, following them and keeping them up. And so you'll know a little bit about up-and-coming future football stars if you follow that.
You know, I used to follow Chad, but everything he posts gets removed. I don't know if he's just sharing porn or what. But, like, you go on his timeline, this tweet's been removed, this tweet's been removed. So, you know, it's kind of a wasted follow there for a while.
Right.
But I'm sure he's got some fun stuff. So you mentioned your Gators. You spent some time at University of Florida as well.
Right.
Favorite Gator all the time?
Ooh, that is a tough one.
Yeah.
There's been so many of them, you know. Mm-hmm. You gotta love Tebow. Tebow's awesome.
Sure.
Keywan, I just mentioned Keywan.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorites. Emmitt Smith, great. One of my little known favorite is I actually broke some of Emmitt's records. Is love me some Eric Rett.
Okay.
He ended up going to Tampa Bay Bucks, I believe, for a little while. Didn't really have the NFL career quite that Emmitt had, which obviously was pretty well.
Sure, yeah.
But
solid little career there.
Yeah, solid little career. Loved Eric Rett. He was good. There's just so many, you know.
As someone who's like the opposite of a Gator fan, though, being asked that question, I love me some Percy Harvin.
You know what? It's funny. Percy Harvin was on the team back when Tebow was, but we had Jeff Demps, world-class sprinter. Percy Harvin wore number 2. Yep. I mean, 1. Jeff Demps wore number 2. Chris Rainey wore number 3. Now, Jeff Demps, world-class sprinter, like I said, was in the Olympics, I believe.
Yep.
Chris Rainey, they raced on the field. I believe Chris Rainey edged out Demps on the field. Percy Harvin really couldn't even sniff with a time with them. You put the boy in pads, Percy Harvin was 2 yards faster than both Demps and Rainey in football. That kid was one of the fastest things I've seen in full football game.
I would say football speed is something, the game time speed they call it, right? Yes. 2 different things.
Yeah, they got, you know, you put him in sweats or workout clothes, he doesn't win. But you load him up.
To be fair, you said Olympic sprinter. He's no slouch to lose to that guy.
Right, but no, he always ran right by him in full pads. That guy was unbelievable.
Such a great talent, but also the only guy to ever miss a game due to migraine headaches.
Yeah,
you know?
It was a little fragile.
Just a strange guy.
But he had this in Gainesville as well. And over the years, it's like, man, a little bit. It's like, I wish you would have. I don't know. Maybe it was bad, but he's almost come on, power through that a little bit, buddy. Yeah. You know,
got his ring with the Seahawks at least. You know, he can call it.
He came out and it was a punt return touchdown.
It was a kick return of the opening of the second half.
Yeah.
Because everyone, you know, Seahawks get the jump, and then it's like, oh, second half, Peyton's going to be Peyton. They're going to come back, and then that happened. Right. And they don't really get a chance. So as we're closing up here, where do the people reach out to you on Twitter?
I am at JTL Graves on Twitter. Hit me up, anything you want. At JTL Graves on Twitter. That's probably the easiest place.
For sure.
I usually, my Facebook's a little bit private, more family type stuff, so I do more of my sports type stuff and all of my different things like that on Twitter. So go ahead and hit me up at JTL Graves, Graves.
Well, there it is. All right, man. Well, it's been good sitting here talking with you. Hopefully, couple weeks into this Alliance season, we can do a State of the Alliance address and see where things are going.
Yeah, I'd like that.
It's been good having you on, man.
And stay tuned for our Daytona Tour 2 biz updates throughout the season coming up. We're going to have some podcasts on that too.
Yep, definitely. Thanks for being on, Joey.
All right.
The one in the mirror ain't me. It's just someone that I call B.O.B. It's kind of me, but it's not. It's just a mask that I got so that I can rap and get off my block. Reminiscing my past when I was a toddler, sitting in grass and playing with blocks. The failing my classes, now I'm on lockdown. Not writing and reading a lot. Money and weed pennies in my shoebox now when I'm trying to get me a Glock. Cause I thought I was at the end of my line. Then I found out it was all on my mind. That's why I'm here to end all the field. We all gon' die and leave from here like I was a man with no name. Now I'm a tribute and more fame. But all of this ain't gonna matter when I die and say goodbye so long. Sayonara, I have to catch you tomorrow, baby. Cause baby, I'll be in the sky. I'll be there. Oh, alright. I'll be in the sky. I'll be there. Oh, alright. I'll be in the sky. Yeah. I'll be in the sky. Everybody here gon' die one day. So while I'm here, I'ma find my way. That's my forte.